We are here with Mara Brock Akil, a legend in her own right.
Thank you.
So Mara, a dear friend of mine has one of your quotes on her phone.
I love that. And I'm a little afraid what I said.
You said, "I've accomplished a lot in my life already by playing small. In my next chapter, I'm playing big."
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit why you say that? What's the context for it? And what do you mean by that?
You know, I look at my body of work. I have produced over 400 episodes of television. Girlfriend specifically is on its fourth generation of audience. And you realize these stories that I just wanted to do my best by had far greater value than what I recognized, because I was so busy in my personal life dealing with people-pleasing issues. So I really do recommend therapy. In therapy, I was able to break out of this idea of, let me prove to you that I'm great. In one way, it served me because I kept delivering hits, but I didn't pause to actually understand what I was doing. And at the time that I gave that quote, I looked back at my life, at my career, and I'm not just a storyteller, I create economy. When I would come into Atlanta, for instance, the doormen at the hotels would get excited because they would say, jobs are coming. And I started to realize I don't just tell stories, I either resurrect or build networks, or I also build cities. Atlanta right now is thriving from the infrastructure in which I built, thus we, because you don't do anything alone, but what we built in order to tell the best story I could tell. So all I was really doing was telling my story and creating the best conditions in which to tell my story, by which I was building infrastructure for other people to actually benefit greater from. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. I now understand my value, and it is time to pivot in the deal making. And currently, I have decided to build a capital raise for, I want to own my work. I think my legacy at this point is not only about how much I value it, and then what am I going to do about that? And I think ownership is the way to do it in order to create legacy and be able to build. And one of the challenges too, Valerie, is that when you also do great storytelling, you inspire. That's me and others. And there's a long line outside of Hollywood who now understands the value of storytelling, our children, our next generation, and now with the tumult of the industry, which is the tumult of the world economy around various industry, so is our industry. And my concern is that the inspired line of young people who probably had to convince their parents not to go the traditional route of banking and medicine and engineering, and they understand and know what I intrinsically believe is that storytelling is our most valuable asset. And I feel like I also have to think about the next generation in that larger idea of myself. When I don't want to play small, what am I going to do for the storytellers I have inspired? How I can't look away and be like, oh, I got mine, good luck. That didn't happen for me. I always name my mentor Ralph Farquhar, Debbie Allen's, Sarah Finney Johnson, Stan Lathan's. There was a village of storytellers around me that helped build me. I have to give that back. And that is inclusive of that larger idea of myself.
I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah. In that answer, there was so much information. And there's a few that I'd love to double click on.
Okay.
And that is, you were a people pleaser.
Yep.
And you're an advocate for therapy.
Yep.
And I happen to believe in what we know is that low self-worth is a pandemic.
Ooh, look at me, I got chills. Wow.
Well, I'm glad that you can own that. And so thank you for sharing that you made the commitment to invest in you.
Yep.
What advice would you give to our audience about how they should navigate that? And I thank you again for being vulnerable and
I think that's what storytellers should be doing. I think if we're really telling our story, you bring all of yourself to the story. And it is a brave thing. Vulnerability actually is bravery to me. So I'm happy to share. I do believe in therapy. I think that, it's great to have your mothers and your aunties and your girlfriends, and they still serve a purpose for that therapeutic thing. But there is a focused idea around intentional repair. And I think that's one. Other two that I would highly recommend, or maybe three, I would highly recommend meditation. Learning to hear the voice has served me in my storytelling, and I'm now using the voice to help me chart my life more in the personal endeavors. Yoga. It's so funny. This is a funny little story. So, first of all, I was like, okay, I treated yoga as exercise and not what it really does for you. And it was an hour and a half, like, okay, hour and a half. Can I just get to that 10 minutes of sleep at the end? But the instructor kept talking about, feel the energy in your body, feel the sensations. I was like, will she just please be quiet so I can get this nap in? And what I realized, it's one of the most valuable parts of yoga because it taught me how to listen to my body and get out of your head, which is full of false narratives.
Yes.
And get into your gut, because that is the truth. Your body is your best friend. And now I do not even call anyone, even my mother, I will not call anyone my best friend anymore. Our bodies are our best friend, and they can tell you what moves to make and do if you pay attention to the body. So there's therapy, there's meditation, and now my body moving with what my nervous system feels good. So sometimes I know where to I can tell you whether I'm in a right space by understanding the conversation I have with my best friend, which is my body. And then lastly is journaling, which if anyone knows me, I think I've got about 10 people to journal on the island in this visit because I believe in it so much. Journaling to me is the way to actually start to pull in ideas, listen to the voice, to take execution and action on. So many of my TV show ideas are in my journaling. So much of all of that anger and resentment that you have to get out of your body in order to make room for creativity and good decision making is in journaling. Sometimes just the dumping of ideas just to make space for your greater self to be heard. I often say that the pen and the paper is the next major technology because we have not collectively sourced the internal self in harmony together while now we're alongside artificial intelligence. Have we even mined human intelligence at the same time? I'm very interested in that, and I believe journaling is the fishing pole to the deeper self to get some of those gems out of us that we have not really taken the time to do.
I love that. That is so incredibly well said.
Thank you.
And more people need to hear it and go do it.
Yes,
so these are the go-dos.
Yes.
So we talked about the importance when we spoke before of journaling. So thank you for saying that. All of my life.
Yes.
And
so you care. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you keep them in one place?
I have a few boxes full of them. And my children used to tease me all the time because I would give them different colors of journaling. They're like, "Mom, we haven't used the last one."
Yes.
For every event. But
this is a beautiful one.
Thank you.
And hummingbirds. Storytelling to me is our most valuable asset.
That's a beautiful statement. So let's double click on that. Why do you believe that?
We have, even trying to keep up with technology, we are distracted beyond our ability to craft our stories. We do need shelter, we do need food, but what is this human experience? And if we're only leaving it to the few people who have taken the time to craft them, but also, let's be honest, we're in a society that only valued certain stories. So most of us don't even value our own story, to even write it down and what happened today. That we're losing so much of what's most valuable to us. It's our lived experience. We're programmed to believe other people's stories are more valuable than ours, that we don't consider our own. I believe other stories should inspire your story. And we are sharing in that knowledge, sharing in that experience to move us forward. That kind of goes to my sort of human intelligence idea, in that we are not sharing them because we're programmed to think someone else's story is greater than ours. And by the way, I don't necessarily think that every story is going to make it to the big screen. It's going to make it in a book, but it's still valuable. It may be the most valuable thing even just to yourself.
Yes.
That carries a value. And imagine, unfortunately, I've had to write a couple of eulogies. And I remember at the end of my brother's, God rest his soul, I remember saying, I know this much about him. His name is William Brock. I know this much about him, but I don't know his favorite color. I don't know his favorite food. The stories of us are packed into other people, and I don't want to learn about people mostly at their death, which is what is happening in our society, and what knowledge that you might sort of pass on to your children that you didn't share with them out of protection for them at a certain age that they may need as they grow older. We have so much need to get our experiences out, but we have been conditioned to believe that they're not worthy. I believe that's why Forever has hit such a chord, because I'm just reflecting back what I see, that I have taken the time in my craftsmanship, learn how to reflect back, and it is sparking such conversation around the island in many, many, many ways. And that's the value that story can do. It awakens the human spirit, and we're supposed to be dancing together. And I don't think we're doing enough of that, and these are some of the ideas that I have journaled about to think about how change could happen.
This is great. We talked about scared money won't make money.
Yes,
and you took a risk here.
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
And lastly, as we wrap up, first of I want to make sure that people know who you are.
Yes.
Because in our community, everyone knows who you are. Outside of some communities, they may not know. How do you describe yourself so that?
I am a storyteller, and my medium of choice is television and film. I have created such hit shows as Girlfriends, The Game, Being Mary Jane, executive produced Black Lightning, the imagined version of Sparkle, which is Whitney Houston's last film, a TV show, Love Is, a documentary called Stamped from the Beginning that I executive produced alongside Roger Ross Williams and Dr. Ibram X. Kendi. And my most recent body of work is a book that I loved as a 12-year-old girl called Forever. It was about first love, first time having sex, a coming of age story that I was able to reimagine for Netflix, that just aired as recent as May 8th. And it has been a firestorm. I put my whole heart into it, like I do a lot of my work, and I think it's a beautiful timing, and also I'm a better craftsman of my work, and so I'm really proud of that right now. Forever, we got a season 2 already, so after this lovely celebration I have had on island for the people, I'm so thankful that the episode about the vineyard, the response from vineyarders and islanders and alike, that people are, and they love it, that I did us right.
You did us very well, very well.
I'm experiencing a lot of love. I'm taking all that love into season 2, which we got 5 days after we premiered on Netflix, and we're 4 months later still having the conversation about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I'm proud of that.
So you took that risk. You got a great return. Let's tell the audience about the writer's journey.
Yeah, so I have a writer's colony. I believe I have 3 pillars in my life: my mother, Joan Fulmore, my grandmother, Helen Fulmore, and my aunt, Veretta Dent. You might recognize those names in some of my work. They taught me that being on the top of the mountain alone is no victory. And so I've been taught to lift as I climb. And the Writers Colony is my response to, it's a writer's residency for burgeoning screenwriters, and there's also an artist in residence, which is a monthly rotation, but it's a 12-week writer's cohort that comes in there's a place to write, which is which is really doubling down on the idea that you have to have a writing practice. Coming to Hollywood to network should not be your first instinct. Have a writing practice and build a community. So it's a place to write, a place to belong, community. Nothing gets done without community. Looking at how you are even orchestrating this with your friends, you're so well resourced and loved because of community, and a place to find your voice. That is the compass that we all should be led by, and every writer should be leading with. And so I've underwritten this myself, and one of my endeavors, even being on the island, is finding community for me to help support this, because I can't do it alone. But I do see a need, because these storytellers need a place to launch, need a place to anchor in and understand the compass for their journey as a writer. And I want to offer that, which was given to me, and so that it can live as a legacy long after my life is over, that there's writers has a process to go to. So the Writers Colony is something that, a victory I want so badly. I can't wait for a story from a young person to make it to the screen. Then I will know. That will be a joyous day, and I hope to even be here celebrating that. But yes, so the Writers Colony is my foundation to help young writers find a pathway into an industry that is changing under their feet daily.
That's great. I heard two things. She's thinking about having a fund. She's amazing. And if you are a venture capitalist, like my partner here, John and Bernard, you invest in the person, because you know that person's going to deliver.
Yeah.
So I'm telling the audience, if you love her and you hear her work, invest in her. You let us know how we can do that.
Yes.
And to support the foundation.
Yes.
So that more writers and more people like you
yes.
can get to the big screen.
There is a big screen, exactly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Valerie. This is so amazing.
Amazing.
Thank you.